Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to Fewnilla County. And we're just admiring Ebo's Junction and the traffic flowing around it really rather gloriously while getting stopped on the roundabout. But this is Fewnilla City Skylines 1, and you've got to love those little traffic quirks. But everything else is flowing really nicely around our new industrial districts. We've got really lovely balanced demands, and we have this whole tile now open to us at the top of our map over here, in which to start forming our downtown. So the plan for today is, of course, the downtown road network. So the main road network around our central business district, around our main downtown, planning out transport routes. And I really think that it is super important to do this before you start just placing in buildings willy-nilly, because it can get very messy in a downtown area with all those skyscrapers and things like that. So to have a frame in which to work from that you can place your buildings around, but also incorporating that transport into it before you start placing buildings and doing too much detailing really helps. So to get started, I am going to remove all of these trees. So I'm just going to whack out the strength on our tree brush. And we're going to literally remove everything from our downtown tile right now, because it's going to really help us out to see this area properly, and also, of course, to avoid having any trees under roads unnecessarily, which can really impact your simulation speed in the long run. And I have also just gone ahead and flattened out the area a little bit more. Like, there's not any major kind of super lumps and bumps in this area, thankfully. Like, this is probably the biggest step up that we get. We can use some of these layers to our advantage in certain parts of the build, but for now, just to get our central bit in, I quite like that on flat land, and then we can terraform what we need to around it, particularly transport networks and things like that. So now that we've got a nice clear area, let's just talk about the general plan. And I'm not really using any real life inspiration for the main centre of our downtown. I've got this grand idea in my head of something that I would like to do, which involves essentially a monument in a circle in the middle of our downtown. So that's what we're going to do. It's based on kind of ideas from my head, ultimately. So I'm hoping it's going to translate well to you guys in the game. So to start off with, yeah, I'm going to get in our central little circle feature that I'm going to base the downtown around. So I'm thinking we'll probably bring this up to about here. So it's kind of sitting almost in the middle of this tile area. And this is literally just going to head straight into it. So this collector road, it's going to be probably the best drive in the city, I think, at the end of the day. You head up here and you've got the City Hall directly in front of you. You come around the corner and then you're going to have the Statue of Industry is what I'm going to put in the middle here, directly in front of you there as well. So my idea for it is to have an outer traffic circle, which I'm actually thinking I might use one of the 6-lane one-way roads. I never use these. I just think they're massive overkill. But I think when we've got skyscrapers and things like that around it, it's going to look quite nice. But then within that, I would like a pedestrian area, which the statue is going to be situated on, but also another ring, another circle within it, which I think, again, is just going to sit in pretty nicely. So if we go to our pedestrian roads, let's start off with a wide one, and I would like to use bluestone for this, I think. And we're just going to come out a really small distance, which is going to be the difference between the outer ring there and ultimately the inner ring. And then from here, we're going to draw out a circle that our statue is going to be situated in. So for this, I'm just going to turn off road guidelines because I don't want it snapping to that, but I do want to see the cell lengths. So I've kind of calculated that we need a circle of 9. So that's 10 there on the line. If we just come back one more, then we can see where that is. So just come back again there. So if we continue this round, we'll get a nice perfect circle like that. And then if we just grab another little road here and we do a road straight across, I'm thinking about there. It's going to be somewhat tricky to measure, so we'll see how this goes. But if we do that, we should be able to get the Statue of Industry pretty nicely in the middle of this circle, I think. I think that looks okay. And also right smack bang in the middle of this collector road here. So it's definitely going to be a big feature of our downtown. So yeah, that's kind of the inner circle in, and we'll have obviously pedestrian access around it as well. But let's get in the outer traffic circle, and then we can start building out our main downtown grid from there. So if I actually go back to the pedestrian roads, in order to get this in nice and symmetrically, what I am going to do is I want to kind of snap to the middle of these grids, which may be more tricky than it actually seems at the moment. But we're going to come out, what was the distance? 240. So yeah, we're going to come out by 240 on each of these middle points. And yeah, the trouble is now we can't really see where this middle point is. So we might have to just play it a little bit by ear, but we want to get a circle in round here that is going to meet up with each of these nodes. So I'm thinking 13 by 13 actually looks pretty good for that. And yes, that has worked out pretty nicely. It's all nice and symmetrical, at least in there. You can get some really nice tree patterns around our pedestrian roads as well, which I think is going to make a huge difference. Let's also just go ahead and make sure that we've got in a few additional connections for pedestrians to walk around. We'll definitely have them, I think, at those 2 points there, but we can see how we go with our road network around it. I'm just thinking here we might actually be better off using the smaller roads for this. It's going to make this junction a little bit wobbly, but it's going to look much nicer when joined up on the surface than using those big roads with the kind of the bluestone pattern breaking. Yeah, so that bluestone does actually continue on a little bit more nicely when we use the smaller road. I think we will go ahead and do that. Don't mind having the tree in the centre. Yeah, I think the tree in the centre probably is nicer for that. So the next thing that I do want to do is start getting in some of our main collectors around this. So these are going to be the bigger roads that form the basis of our grids. And what I quite like for this is for this to not be completely perpendicular and square to this roundabout. Like I'd actually like it at a 45-degree angle, I'm thinking, for this. So what I am going to do is just come up a little bit, I think, to about there. And then we're going to use this road as a bit of a guide. So you can see, obviously, in Vanilla City Skylines, we do get the angle of the road here. So we can see when it's nice and 90 degrees. We can also see, obviously, with that, when it is 45 degrees, which is obviously half of 90. So this is going to give us the best kind of result in terms of lovely, straight, very kind of geometric patterns, actually. So you can see now that we've got one in at 45, we can get in another road here. And then if we delete this one out, like that, we get this perfectly straight, nice 90-degree angle here. And then from this, we can start kind of drawing in our main grid. And it's going to be almost like a little bit of a mile grid function for this central downtown district. We're going to have huge squares of collectors with this circle kind of in the middle, with all of our smaller roads kind of interlocking into that. So I think if we come up to about there, come out at a 90-degree angle. So what was that distance? That was 1860. So we'll do the same thing this side and then lock into our bigger traffic roundabout. And that gives us a very symmetrical, nice looking square. And we can kind of continue this pattern on. So again, we'll use this distance of 1860 to form our grid. We'll come out at 90 degrees like this. And we'll also come out 1860 to there. And then we're going to go in at 90 degrees and join up to this. So exactly the same thing this side. So we have obviously got a lot of crossings on this. So I am wondering if it would be better to put the pedestrian paths up next to some of these crossings. I think actually some pedestrian bridges would probably be in order. And if we do that, then pedestrians really will just use the zebra crossings rather than using the bridge, because it will be quicker in Vanilla City Skylines. So I'm thinking actually like this, even though we've got a hell of a lot of junctions on here, is probably going to work better from a traffic perspective in the long run. So I think here we will just bring this down to connect into our central collector there. I think I'll actually leave it the other side and keep things a little bit off from this side onwards. So I think we'll come out at a 90-degree angle here and have this one meet up like that. And then we are going to continue the grid on out this way just a little bit. Something along those lines at least. Now, the next thing I do want to do is just consider this other road that we have over here, this kind of main collector that we have over this side. So let's just trim back some of these trees on this end. Now, at the moment, it's coming out at a slightly different angle to the road that we've got running down here, which is absolutely fine, and I quite like that. And I think actually what we should do is make this even slightly more accentuated. So we're going to come out like this pretty much, just to give a different shape, because in this area here, we're going to do an absolutely massive central park, which is why I don't mind we've got this little bit of a slope. We can use that to turn it into a feature. We're going to do lots of cool stuff in that, but we are going to come back to that another time and not be doing that today. But of course, we're planning it out and we're going to be leaving that space for exactly that reason. Now here, we do just want to slope this down a little bit. So if we right click here and then just left click and drag up to this level, We'll get a nice smooth slope there. And we can sort out that terraforming edge once we unlock some more tiles further down the road. But for now that will do. Then we're going to connect this in nicely there. And then this area here is what is going to form the basis of our central park. So I do just want to smooth off some of this landscape a little bit. Because then through the middle of it as well, I would like another kind of collector. I'm thinking maybe one of the avenue roads would be nice for this, running through the middle of the park. So possibly one of these with some parking on it as well would be a nice touch. So I think what we will do is come out from here and we're going to kind of meander our way through the park ultimately with a bit of a curvy road. So something along those lines, which will just literally cut across our ginormous park area, which will sit in here. So it's kind of giving me like Hyde Park vibes. I think we'll take Hyde Park probably in London as quite a lot of inspiration for that area. Do some nice little things around the edge of it, some nice features within it, some public transit going through it as well. So I'm thinking possibly trams. So once we unlock this tile here, we have got the trams that we do want to bring up into the downtown. Because yes, the next thing I'm going to talk about is public transit. So if we just take stock of what transport we have in the city already and what we're planning on drawing into the downtown, we have rail over here. So we've got the rail line coming from the airport, and this is going actually out and meeting the intercity line here. In the long term, when I unlock this tile, I would like to separate those two out. So we've got two rail lines essentially coming in from this side, because I think it's always beneficial to have intercity trains disconnected from your internal lines. So I think that would be really helpful to separate these two out at this point and bring them in as two lines. We do also have this train line from Tyler, of course, which runs all the way back through Puddington, through the John Robinson Lumber Inc. over here, and will come from this island. So that's quite a long line and an important one that we do want to bring into our transport hub as well. Now, of course, we also have trams from Eggs Palavan Pine Professionals Park, if I can say it correctly, over here as well. So we are going to be bringing in trams again when we unlock this tile, which will likely be the next one that we take. One of these two. Haven't fully decided yet. But trams will be making their way. And I want trams ultimately to be the principal mode of transport around our downtown. We will have metro in here as well. So of course our metro line at the moment actually comes down from Dafty Draw through Fewnilla University, through Tyler and onto our airport. And actually at this point the metro does sink underground and goes ahead onto this island, which obviously will connect up at a later date. So that's kind of a fully fledged line, but I think what would be nice is to probably split it off at this point and bring it down into the downtown as well. So we could have an overground metro and then some underground networks around our downtown. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Because ultimately from Tyler, they can take the train in, so that's not too much of a problem. And from this side of it, they're going to have the tram coming in round here. So they have got options, and they can always take the metro from here to Tyler's transport hub to get the train into town, or they could take the metro out to the airport and get, again, the train down into town. So there's options from this central bit. And we could also bring in some underground metro, of course, to meet up with this metro station in the middle here, which again would just provide some connectivity from Tyler into the central downtown. So lots of options to consider, but the main thing is we need at least 3 rail lines, plus any other rail lines that we do want to extend out and round our city. We need trams, and we need metro, of course, as well. So what I am thinking for this is I'm going to actually put the main train station down in this area over here. So I'm actually going to do a sunken train station for this. We're going to try to, at least in vanilla. So I'm just going to sink a tiny bit of the land here. We're going to grab our smoothing tools and start smoothing it out. And I can already tell that's probably way deeper actually than we need it to be. So I'm thinking something like that would be more appropriate, but we're going to test this out before we get too far with this. So let's just draw out a little area like this and we'll level this off to this piece of terrain here. So I'm going to slope a road in from here. So we'll just use slope function there for the moment. We'll just grab a bog standard 4-lane road for this, but we can change this up. I'll probably use pedestrian roads, I think, for the front of the station down here. And we'll bring that down to our flat ground level. The train station that I'd like to use is the big glass box transport hub, which comes with the train station's content creator pack. If you are missing that and you would like to pick it up, please do consider using my instant gaming link in the description below for huge discounts, and it also helps to support the channel. So yeah, if we just place this in for a second, and we'll grab our terraforming tools, and what we're going to do is just pull this land right up to the edge of these rail tracks like this. Same goes for the other side as well. We're going to just drag it right up, so we're creating quite a sharp cliff edge ultimately on that. And then I'm going to grab the rail, and we're going to bring this line out and around this way. So let's just grab a corner piece like that. I think we'll bring it out straight for a small section, and then we'll go into another slight curve over here. Something along those lines. So if we grab again the terraforming tools, and I'm just going to draw this up because what I am going to test here is that we can get a road nice and easily over it. But yeah, we've actually got an awful lot of clearance with that. So we could actually even raise this station up a little bit further. The other thing I would like to check is how this metro sits if it goes down onto the ground directly from the station. So let's just have a little look at that. We're going to metro, grab our metro tracks, and we're just going to pull this across. I want this to be ground level. And that is very flat. So actually, on that basis, I think we've actually got the perfect height for the stadium. Because then, yeah, we can bring these out to ground level really nice and flatly straight out of the station, and it's going to look nice and neat indeed. Maybe not this side because we haven't terraformed it yet. So yeah, I think this height's going to work. So let's just come back to our rail lines, and for simplicity, I mean, we've got 6 rail lines on this station. We don't really need all 6 of these. So I'm going to join some of these into each other here. Let's just make our area to work with a little bit larger for the moment, and then we'll bring up that terrain right next to it later on. So let's grab our train line, and it's not going in perfectly. It's not like the worst thing that I've ever seen in the whole world. And what I do want to do is have one that's essentially parallel to this train line here. So we're going to bring this one again in nice and smoothly like that. And then I think we'll bring this one in to join into it here. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm just relishing actually how good these train line functions are in City Skylines 2. Like, they are just such a massive improvement compared to these ones. I just can't express. And make things like this a hell of a lot easier to make look nice. So I think here we will actually just bring out a third line that's almost going to run parallel to this one as well. So we can get kind of 3 nice train tracks, which are ultimately going to run round the outside of the city here and connect into the tracks back here. One of them I think I may actually divert off a little bit around this lake so that we can do some nice builds maybe up in the hills over here or around this side. I think this one will probably come round and then tail off this way, and the other 2 will keep going round here for the intercity line and then also for the internal line round this side. Now for this train line we've got a little bit of a problem because it's literally right on the tile boundary, and what I would like to do longer term is actually flow it out around here, have another stop somewhere out this side and then come into the downtown. But obviously, without having access to this tile, that isn't possible for the moment. So this is going to look really, really, really awful until we unlock that tile. So you're just going to have to bear with it and imagine what it would be like when we finally do unlock that. So yeah, for this, we're just going to have quite a tight bend coming down into there. And again, we'll just connect up this track slightly further down so that we have got access to 2 platforms there if we do want it. We will sort all of this out at a later date. Like, I know that's way too steep right now. This will be sloped out and improved and sorted out. In fact, I might fix it a little bit in the detailing time-lapse just so it looks nicer. But yeah, that's the kind of gist of how the train line is going to go. So I do want to create a bit more of a transport hub out of this. So I'd like to bring in an intercity bus station as well. So if we just go to our bus options, I'm thinking the big intercity bus terminal would look really nice here. So let's just drop that in. Because again, like, from this kind of sunken glass building perspective, I think looking up towards that is quite a nice effect. And we can kind of keep this side road reserved for pretty much exclusively buses as they come around here. And then we can also still respect our downtown grid by having this come out again out here. So, oh, actually, luckily, that's gone in the exact amount there. So we can continue that on down this side. And I think by creating just a little bit of pedestrian road up there as well, that's going to be pretty cool with the pedestrians coming from the station up to the bus station there. I would also like to get a little bit of a kind of makeshift tram stop in here too, which I think would be a really nice little touch. And so I'm thinking potentially up on this side, instead of having like, we'll have a nice sloped grassy bank that side. Then over here, we're going to make this quite a steep kind of embankment. Not from this road, because I would like that to ultimately head somewhere. So I think we'll give this a bit of a slope. So let's right click there and we'll just drag our slope down so this gets in a little bit more nicely. We'll grab this road. I think I will do this with pedestrians as well and connect it up into there. So the slope isn't too severe there. It's not too bad at all. Then we can just continue to flatten off this land as far as we can go into a nice big square up here and create a little bit of a mini tram hub. So I'm thinking just something nice and simple along those lines, and we can do some nice detailing, some buildings around that. Let's of course upgrade this road here, and then we will want to keep the trams going. I'm thinking probably the one with bike lanes would be good for this, to bring this around and down and into our downtown. We haven't got any large one-way roads though, so this is going to be the slight problem with it that we're going to have to manage. So essentially this is going to flow right round the edge of the downtown like this, and this will kind of be where our network sits. But again, we'll want it to come up this road here, and we could change this one into a 6-lane road with trams, bus and bicycle lanes. Yeah, so then we've actually got the bus lanes coming into the bus station there too, which I think would be quite a nice touch. So we can have the tram running up there. And I'm thinking probably coming across this way would also be appropriate. So let's go back to that tram road we had and we'll bring it in down here. So essentially we've got a big square of tram all the way around the centre of the downtown. And then we'll have extra little bits of tram coming off of it as well. So we'll want to bring something into the central park. We'll want to take things off around the other parts of the downtown, not just this central district, but we can use this as the kind of central frame to work from. Now with the metro, I would like to bring this side of it underground. So we are actually going to sink this down. If we come out by 12 like that, we'll get the nicest sort of looking slope on this. And then yeah, we can see that we are underground there. So I'll just leave that like that for now, and we can work on that metro as we come to build out the downtown. And then we've got the overground metro coming out this side. But before I get too far with that, there's obviously the big question of our highway road out here. And we do want to obviously bring this into the downtown. This is the main place that it's going to be going. So I do want to redirect this slightly from what we had there. So if we just trim it back a tiny bit, then let's go in and grab our 3-lane highway road. And my idea with this is actually that it is just going to literally flow directly into the downtown network. Like, it's not going to do anything special. We're not going to have a major intersection. It's got nowhere else to go ultimately after this part of the downtown. Like there is no other highway connections around this side, so it's literally just going to feed into the network and that'll be the end of it. We will have another intersection over here because we've got massive ore industry out this side, so I think it would be appropriate to have a kind of exit off that way, possibly linking into this collector in the downtown too. So we'll have a look at that. But yeah, this is just going to end with a nice little couplet system running alongside our downtown. And of course, once we've opened up this tile, the ring road will also feed round into the downtown. I think it will actually loop further around the outside and round potentially the edge of the lake, with obviously lots of intersections and options to get into the downtown from it. But of course, that's to come later on. I would like this to flow kind of up this way. Let's keep our nice like uniform distance between it. Just create a little bend like that. So there is a slight difference in height here, so I might need to tidy that up as time goes on. But that will do for the moment. And then, yeah, we're going to loop this round into a road that runs alongside this. So I am actually going to go ahead and grab, I think, a 3-lane one-way road with a bus lane would be quite nice for this. We're actually going to upgrade this collector to one, because instead of this collector being here, ultimately this is going to end up being a couplet road that comes in off the highway. So we're going to leave a gap of 3 between them, and then we're just going to feed this out a little bit further. We'll change the directions in a second. We'll come out to probably about there, and then we're going to want to loop this round with our highway roads. So something along those lines. We do need to sort the terrain out a little bit here, so we'll smooth that off and make that a little bit nicer. That is generally speaking how it's going to go, and then we can build right up alongside this highway as it just kind of just feeds into the network ultimately here. And I think we are going to have basic kind of crossings on it as well, so this may cause a little bit of traffic in the long run, so we'll see how it goes. We are just going to have very, very basic crossings on it like that. And again, we'll keep this grid coming. And then what I would like here is an option to head over this road. And that'll give an option not to cross into these collectors. And yeah, my idea for this is that we would have sections of this that kind of splits off and goes into some sort of frontage roads essentially. And then from here we can have little elements that split off like this. So it's not all kind of feeding through some of these crazy junctions that you see here. And we can just bring it back in like so. So again, this one can feed off in this direction. Similar with the other direction as well, we can just kind of have very simple connections off it directly into some of these grid patterns that we have the other side. But it's all going to feel quite built up along it, which is something that I really very much like indeed. And so I've just extended these roads a little bit further because I think we will bring it in the intersection at this point where the highway is going to split off this way and go towards where the ore is going to be situated, but also connect into the main road network over here as well. So they don't have to necessarily go onto the little couplet system if they don't need to. So I think we're going to do that in the detailing time lapse, and we're going to do that now. In fact, we're going to finish off fleshing out our road network. We're going to tidy up around the transport hub and make sure that is all really nicely detailed and ready to go. I'll obviously connect in the rail line, which will be dodgy down here for the moment, put in our intersection and just generally kind of tidy things up a little bit. So let's just take a little look, because it's one of those episodes where it's a little bit different to the norm. There's not too much detailing that's really gone into it because there's not a lot to detail as of yet. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this is looking, particularly if we go obviously all the way back into Tyler Town Centre. Once this is all kind of built up, I think this is going to look super cool, and there is going to be skyscrapers essentially ringing all the way around our little Statue of Industry over here. It's already tourists actually visiting it. I have popped in an underground metro station here as well, and we've got one over by our tram transport hub area over here too, so that will kind of take people around the centre, and obviously we've still got to flesh out our tram network quite substantially as well. I've not done any grid work in these sections just because I know that these blocks here are ultimately where the biggest skyscrapers are going to go. This is kind of the central business district right here. And then we'll be layering down those layers of height as we go around. So we'll be much more residential here, and probably at the back over there, a few offices dotted in between as well, of course, and some other special unique buildings to kind of layer down that height. But with the skyscrapers being so big, until we know the exact orientation of them, I didn't feel like there was any point in putting any roads in here. So we've left this all just nice and blank. We've got a random little bush there, just noticed. So yeah, I'm so excited to get onto that next time. And the transport hub is looking really good. So the little tram kind of hub stop over here, we've got the service point next to it that's going to service the pedestrian area out here, and of course this one as well. So I think that actually sits quite nice next to our little tram hub. Several little props in the middle here just to signify waiting stops and a bit of shelter for people. A few little shops at the back here as well, of course, to service people as they wait for their trains or their trams or whatever it might be over this area. I think the sunken train station has fit in really nicely. We've got a couple of little taxi stops outside here too. I know there's not much parking, but we will have quite extensive parking across the downtown. So I'm thinking probably bringing in a multi-storey somewhere up here that's nice and close to the station for people. But ultimately, I really want people to use the transit or walk and not be too reliant on cars around here, particularly because there's just so much public transport options. And of course, we've got the little bus station that's just sitting nicely with a bit of prop hedging and some trees behind it at the back here. I did extend out the bus loop, so we've got actually a bus little highway system here, so we won't be able to build up it, but it does mean that only buses are going to flow down here and round this ring. So any buses coming in will come down here now, and going out will flow back round to that side. So it works quite smoothly from that respect. Then we've added in the overground metro. Obviously we're not entirely sure where this is going to go yet, but we have got this stop in the middle here, so we will see people hopefully using that in addition to our underground network, which will flow obviously around there. And then of course the trains, we have extended this on round, so I think this is going to look pretty cool once it's all kind of fleshed out and finished. I do need to try and attempt to get this road in a little bit more nicely here as it crosses it, but we'll build up on this side, maybe have a station here or there as well, but it flows really nicely around here. This won't stay like this. This is obviously the tile boundary that I'm trying to get round. This will be much more smooth in the transition coming out round our ore industry. We'll definitely have a station round there to get workers to and from that. That's going to be a pretty major hub. And of course extend our little highway bit round there, and then probably round this side to the lake. I'm thinking I might actually join this one up with the ring road round this side, so that'll all kind of flow together quite nicely. And of course this collector will connect into the one over here when we get that tile availability. So the intersection, again, I know lots of people are going to comment on this because it doesn't go both ways, but that is actually the idea of it. So if you're coming into the ore area, you can come off here. And if you're coming from the ore area, you can go this way, or of course you can go under and then back onto this highway. It doesn't offer highway connectivity from this side into the downtown, so people will have to keep on going ultimately and then come off here or come off here. Or come off down here, whatever they want to get into the downtown. So that is the general idea of it. And of course, if they're coming from the downtown onto this highway, they'll just have to take, again, one of these other slip roads, or this route actually, indeed, which probably needs a little bit of optimising. I think maybe we need to bring in another slip road this way just to help that corner sit in a little bit nicely. But then again, of course, people from the downtown can get out onto the highway heading into the ore area this side. So it's a little bit of an odd one. And I know it doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but it will provide connectivity in all directions, just not directly through this intersection necessarily. But yeah, Really liking how it's looking so far and just super excited to get onto building. Now, this is a massive area when you look at it in comparison to the rest of our city. Obviously, the big peaks in height are going to be round in front of our transport hub around here, and then we'll want to layer this down. But this is going to have to be several builds to get this all in. And of course, we've got this absolutely ginormous park. If you've got ideas of what you'd like to see in there, please do let me know in the comments. And likewise, anything else in the downtown. But I think we've set it up nicely. And I think once it's in, it's going to look pretty awesome. So for today, that is going to be it. But if you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are greatly appreciated. And of course, keep those suggestions coming in the comments as well. I love to read those. But that's all from me for now. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye.